Alright, so I didn't sleep. I mean, I rested after the wedding I had Friday night. That was a blast. I ended up resting most of yesterday and recovering from that. So I had an idea before I picked this, but I've been planning this for a little bit, this movie. But I was thinking of an idea, and I was like, I might do this every week, every 2 weeks on the channel. I'm going to do a live stream every week or two. I'll figure out a day. This will be like for next month, for March. I'm going to do a live stream, and I'm not going to title the spoiler discussion what movie it is or anything like that. And the stream will just be me watching the film and talking about it, and then people, if they like the film that it happened to be, the mystery movie for the week or the 2 weeks, whatever, stay and chat and discuss it. If you don't like it, never seen the movie, I'll drop a link somewhere. You can watch it along with me. We can talk. It's like a watch party, but by myself, but having you guys there to interact with. So that might be cool. The whole reason for that is just to have like a surprise, like a surprise movie, like every so often. That sounds like a good idea. Let me know, because you guys know me. I'm going to do whatever I want, regardless. But I feel like that's a good idea. So a little feedback maybe would be nice. But I thought about doing it for this movie. I couldn't do it for this movie. Alfred Hitchcock's 1960 classic, Psycho. Now, this is going to be hard, man. Like I said in my video for Halloween, which was my first horror film ever, that all these years later still is. It's in my top 3 films of all time. Only The Thing. It's really the only movie that's like really ahead of it. That's my favorite film of all time. But this movie, man, this started a lot for me too with horror, because I saw this very young too. Like if I saw Halloween at 5, 6 years old, I must have seen Psycho a year after that, a year and a half at the most. So I was young for sure. I even remember going on a family vacation to Universal Studios and like Disney and everything, and they actually had a attraction at Universal that they would like make you feel like you're in Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, and like you'd watch like a 3D like video of the birds, and like there'd be like effects and stuff happening, and like it feels like you're getting fucked by birds all over the place, like. And then they show you how they do the shower scene, and they recreate it on stage, and on the house, the set is there. It was really, really cool. Like this is so long ago. Like I was like 8. It was like 25 years ago, but it was awesome. So that's a one little memory that I have with Psycho and Hitchcock in general. Now, regarding Hitchcock, I'll be the first to admit, I'm not a huge Hitchcock person. Like, I'm not very, very well versed in Hitchcock. I've seen maybe 10 of his movies. I think he's directed like 50 something. So, yeah, no. Like, I know Rear Window and Vertigo and The Birds, Psycho, and a few others that I've seen over the years. That's basically it. But he does have such a distinct style, and God was he so fucking influential on almost everyone that came after him. I'm not that well versed in horror movies or film in general earlier than like the 60s, basically. Like I know a little. I'm alright with 50s monster movies and stuff, and then like before that, it's like just whatever the like standout films that everyone's heard of, everyone's seen. Besides that, there's too much. There's too much fucking stuff to watch. Like, there's too many movies. Especially just in the horror genre alone. I spent 30 years almost watching horror, almost exclusively for the most part. There's still so much more, man. Like, you can't see everything, obviously. But, I don't know, for some reason, never delved back past. So this is like, it's kind of the same with music for me. Like the Beatles are my favorite band of all time, and before the 60s and like a little bit of Elvis, don't really listen to anything from then either. But Psycho is like pretty much like the defining movie that changed horror forever. Like it really did. Like when this film came out, this is another situation. I've said this in a few of my videos on movies I consider, and I didn't even say it yet, but this movie's a fucking masterpiece. Like in every single way. Norman Bates is my second favorite character in a horror movie, like of all time. Like under Sam Loomis, Dr. Loomis from Halloween, which is funny because he was named Dr. Sam Loomis because of Sam Loomis's character in Psycho. So cool how there's that little link between my two favorite like characters in a horror film. Dr. Loomis, Norman Bates. Like it's right there. Anthony Perkins' acting and performance in this movie is just, it'll stand the test of time. Like the people can watch this film in 200 years and his performance will still be iconic. Like just every mannerism, like every line of dialogue that he speaks in this, his dynamic with Janet Leigh, amazing. And just that whole thing too, how this movie just threw everyone off with killing off Marion, played by Janet Leigh, was huge at the time. A half hour, 25 minutes into the movie, that was unheard of. And people have went down that route since. And that's been a big influence, killing off like a big name actor or actress in your movie. Like this was a movie. Like I'm pretty sure you couldn't show like a toilet flushing back then, right? And this was the first movie that did, when she flushes the calculation she's doing with the money after she bought the car, flushes it down the toilet. Pretty sure that was the first flushing toilet ever on film. Could be wrong, but I've heard that before, so who knows? And then just the whole slasher thing. I don't consider this a slasher film at all. Like, this is a character study. And I see that not a lot, but often. Like, if browsing YouTube or social media and the movie comes up, and they'll refer to it as the beginning of some type of genre or whatever. I see a lot of confusion sometimes between slashers and character studies. Like, Don't Go in the House from 1979. That's very Psycho-esque. It is kind of a slasher, but even in my video for that and how I always describe it, it's not really like your traditional slasher film. Like it's more of a character study into Donnie in that movie. Same with this. This is a whole character study into Norman Bates. Like this he kills two fucking people. Like, yeah, he might have killed, I think they say that he killed two others, like, prior, and we find that out in the sequels. It's not enough for a slasher movie, man. Like, no. Just no. Like, it definitely was inspirational on what can be done in a film, in a horror movie. And, like, what limits were able to be pushed after that. Like, for sure. Like 100%, not denying that, but being in like the earliest of the slasher movies, like the slasher genre before it really started, no, for me, that was still another at least few years away with Bava. Bava's like the girl who knew too much, and oh come on, why am I blanking on Bava? Blood and Black Lace. With them two, we're starting like the giallo genre. And then I always cite his movie, Mario Bava's Torture the Death Nerve, as being like the real first slasher movie that like absolutely led to Halloween, Black Christmas, then Halloween, and then just obviously Friday the 13th, which kickstarted everything with the slasher genre. So, I mean, I give more credit, much more credit to Mario Bava and like a lot of Italian directors, but man, this movie's just fantastic. So let's watch and talk about it because this is All-time classic. I also found out that I have some christening shit today. My cousin's daughter. So whatever that is to me, my cousin, first cousin once removed. I'm pretty sure that's such a stupid fucking phrase, but whatever. Christening for her at like 2 o'clock. So, Mike, if you guys see, I'm hoping I'll be back for the stream tonight, but I should be. Like it shouldn't be like an all night thing because I might kill myself if it is. So I'm praying now because I just talked to Dave this morning and I was like, oh yeah, excited Sunday finally after being sick. It just has nothing to do with Psycho, but screw you guys. My subs and followers and friends, they come first. So you wait for your Psycho. I'll give you Psycho talk when I want you to have it. All right, Psycho talk, 1960. And first off, everyone in this movie is fantastic. Vera Miles obviously is amazing as Lila Crane, and John Gavin. Like it's not just Norman and Janet Leigh. Like everybody does such a good job of this movie, and I'll just blanket this like I do in some movies. The directing is just absolutely phenomenal. Like in this whole movie, the camera work, the directing, the cinematography, just the black and white, like how good it looks. Like all these years later, amazing. And the opening title credits, like first of all, the score is one of the most iconic scores ever for a film. Like I don't think anybody would argue that. Like Bernard Herrmann, pretty sure his name was. Yeah, Herman, right? That's definitely you. Because I always remember Hitchcock, H. Herman, H. Yeah, so what can you say about the music to this movie? Like, it's been parodied so much, like, just like this whole movie has. Like, how many times have you seen a parody of the shower scene? Hundreds over my lifetime. Like, so many. Like, this movie's just a work of art. And it's always going to stay that way. And just the opening music and the score through this entire movie, perfection. You guys who have seen like my long ass videos on classic masterpieces that I consider them, perfection is a word that's used very often. Another thing that Hitchcock just trailblazed with this movie was, sexual stuff that's allowed on screen, that's allowed in a film. Like in the 50s, I mean, look at like I Love Lucy and other sitcoms. Married couple couldn't even show them in the same bed. That, right in the opening scene here, we have Marion and Sam in one bed. She's just in her bra. He's shirtless. Like that was rare, if ever seen, like in a mainstream movie. Like back then, in 1960, that's unheard of. So I mean, just for all the things that this movie ushered in after it, the tropes and cliches for good or for bad, just so many things that this movie kick-started or made much more popular, even if it was like done before, but not many people saw movies that had any ideas like this. And the whole point that the whole fact that Alfred Hitchcock went to every like bookstore like around where the screening for the movie was going to be, I forget where, and bought every single copy of Bloch's novel of Psycho, just so no one around for the screening could spoil the ending for anybody. That's something I would do. Like seriously, like I applaud Hitchcock on that. Like if I had a big ass twist like this movie does, I'm not letting anyone ruin it in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, sure. You got 50, 100 copies of that book? Yeah, give me all of them. Like, come on. I mean, Hitchcock at that point, 1960, he's doing fine. He can definitely do that. He could have bought every copy in the country if he wanted, probably. But, like, just to go out of your way that much, that's dedication. And that's like an absolute love for the work that you just did, which shows in this movie amazingly. And now the twist. I mean, we'll talk about this obviously later, but excuse me. No one saw this twist, the ending to this movie coming in theaters in 1960, which is why I would kill to be there to see that. To just be in the theater in 1960, seeing this movie, and then just seeing the reaction of everyone throughout the movie as it goes along. And then as you get little hints here and there, and then just for the reveal at the end. And see how people freak the fuck out. Because this is a movie I feel like was ruined in a way by how amazing and how popular it was and still is. I feel the same with Halloween to an extent. The same with The Shining. Like there's a few movies like that that I feel got so big and are such big classics that it kind of takes away from them in a little bit. Because maybe it's because you've seen these movies parodied left and right for your whole life, and but with a twist like that, no one saw that coming back then. Today, anyone could see this twist coming. So it's really a product of its time, like absolutely in certain aspects, because we've seen that twist how many times in movies by this point. Like all the time. The split personality or talks like his mother. Like we've seen that a billion times since this movie came out. Thanks, Hitchcock. Never as good as yours. But you know what I'm saying? Like so today, I don't think there's anyone who doesn't know how this movie ends. Even if they never seen it before, they still know. Norman Bates, oh yeah, he's split personality with his mom. Like they all know that. The only people would be the youngest generation, like those in high school right now they haven't seen enough of society and entertainment and stuff to see references to Psycho or know about the movie or you know what I'm saying? Like those are the only people who Psycho. I never heard of it. Oh, I've heard Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I've never seen it. That's the only people that would be like, oh yeah, I have no idea what goes on in that movie. That it would work for. I feel like it's so hard to show someone this movie who hasn't seen it their whole life for some reason. Because it's ruined. Because they, most of the time, already know what's happening at the end. So, I don't know. I don't want to keep going on the same shit, but you get what I'm saying. Kind of got ruined by just how much of a classic this is. But, I mean, does it take away from the movie? For me, not a fucking chance. Are you serious? So Marion works at the bank for 10 years, and she ends up telling her boss on Friday that she feels sick, and she wants to go home early. And she ends up getting $40,000 from him to take to the bank, deposit it, and then impulsively, she just fucking books it out of Phoenix, Arizona with $40,000, which back then was a decent chunk of change. So I love when she's driving, her thoughts that she has, like after the whole scene with the police, with the cop who pulls her over, and you see this a lot in this movie, like symbolism with mirrors and reflections and stuff like that. I always look at it as like duality, kind of like Norman's, brain is dual. It's his mom, it's him. Like I've always seen that the reflection imagery in that type of way. Also to kind of show like Marion's guilt and like how she feels about stealing this money, that she's like always, her conscience is being reflected back at her. Like something like that is how I always kind of looked at all the mirror and reflection stuff, because you see her reflection in his sunglasses. You see it in like the reflector on the car. You see like it's all over the place in Bates' motel, in her hotel room. There's mirrors there and stuff that reflect her. Like you see that all over the place in this movie, and that's kind of how I always took it, like duality kind of, and her reflection of her guilt for stealing the money, which is brilliantly done. Like all of that symbolism with reflections and water to a lesser extent, but like excellent. Like, so well done. And that whole scene with the cop is very tense. Like, even though she didn't do anything wrong. Imagine being a woman her age, pulled over, got some sleep, is on the run with $40,000, and then just leaves and he's following you while she goes to buy a new car. Like, just splat, I need a new car, take my old one, here's money, cash, and pieces out with it. That's spooky shit. Like, to be a woman in that position, that's scared because of the consequences of what is going to happen to her for stealing this money. And I love how they have her thoughts audibly play, like, during the movie, like while she's driving. And you start hearing her sister, you start hearing her boss, you start hearing the voices in her head and, like, what she's worried about. And, like, awesome. It's so well done. It would seem really kind of tacky in a movie today. Like, just having a voiceover to, like, represent someone's thoughts and anxieties. I don't know if it would work for me today. But back then and in this movie, awesome. Like, so good. And it really lets you into Marion's, like, mindset and what she's thinking, her anxieties, her guilt, her excitement that she's breaking the law, she's doing something wrong, like all of those emotions. So awesome and so well portrayed by Janet Leigh throughout this whole part of the movie that she's in. I can't say the whole movie. Everything she's in, fantastic. It's such a small shot, but like the quick 2 second shot when Marion turns off like the exit and the cops following her after he talks with her, and she's looking into the rearview mirror. The straight shot on the mirror of the reflection of the cop car, and in the background is the foreground of what she's seeing, in front of her driving. A few of those shots we get there, amazing. Something about them, like they are very tiny shots, like 2-3 second long, just to show the cop, like, and is behind her, but just the way that the reflective mirror is there with the cop car, and then that's in front of the windshield with where she's headed. I love those shots. Like, I've never really even noticed it this much. So maybe it's just because I'm looking at this in all movies a lot more analytically, and I don't know. But I just saw those shots. I said, I really fucking like how they did that. Like, really cool. So, awesome job on that. Heck, officer, that was the first time I ever saw the customer. High pressure, the salesman. Just so many great lines in that whole scene, too, when she's going to buy the new car. And it's really tense, too, because of having the cop there, just staring at her from across the road. And then she gets in the car when the cop pulls in, and he's like so close to her, just about to talk to her again. And she gets in the car, and then they say, hey! And she stops thinking she's caught or she's in trouble. And it's just the guy, she forgot her suitcase. That's how fucking frenzied her mind is, and like not knowing what to do, and like just impulsively going. All of that is handled extremely well too. Like the whole way that Alfred Hitchcock takes this movie and filmed it to just, you can feel Marion's anxiety and paranoia, like so much. Like, it's so effective. Like, such a great movie. I'm going to be saying it this whole time. Like, absolutely amazing work with that. Making us feel what's inside Marion's head and what she's thinking and what type of person she is. All of that. Great. And just Janet Leigh's all her emotion she shows with her, just her facial expressions while she's driving, hearing all the thoughts and stuff. And that, like, she's imagining is going on. Like how she starts smiling a little bit when, like, the thoughts are going in her favor, or then, like, how it gets more serious. And fucking phenomenal. Acting by her. Just in the driving scene, she doesn't say a fucking word. Just her face. Just her facial expressions. Absolutely stunning. Like, brilliant. Brilliant work. It's kind of weird because I'm thinking now, like, about, like, pre-1960. We're thinking about this film, 1960. Then we have Peeping Tom, which I've seen once or twice. It's alright. It's not a great movie. Like, I really don't care for it much. Peeping Tom from Britain. Yeah, you Brits, no wonder. No wonder we got. I mean, Alfred Hitchcock's a fucking Brit, but we got fucking Psycho. You guys got Peeping Tom. Like, it's all right. It's not that bad. I haven't seen it in forever, so I would have to rewatch that. But I was thinking 1960 for those two movies, and then we had 1960 was Mario Bava's Black Sabbath or Black Sunday, which is a masterpiece too, which kickstarted pretty much all of Italian horror. So, dude, between getting Psycho in 1960 and then getting Mario Bava's Black Sunday with Barbara Steele and all that, two of the most defining movies for horror, in my opinion. Which I still have to do a video on Black Sunday. Like, I have a lot of Bava to do. Like, I'm happy that I covered three of his movies because I adore him. But I got to do more Hitchcock too. Now that I think about it, and delve more into him. If anyone has like deep cut Hitchcock horror movies, like recommendations, like not like the obvious famous ones that I listed off earlier in the video and stuff, like Vertigo, Rear Window, Birds, this, Frenzy, like all of these. None of that. Some deep cut. Let me know, because I need to get more versed with Hitchcock for sure. But we have her just ending up at the hotel now, pulling up. God, this whole sequence until she's dead, basically, is just perfect. The whole dynamic between Anthony Perkins and Janet Leigh is absolutely stunning here, and it's just sublime to watch every single time. Every time I've seen this movie, I just get lost in Norman's dialogue with her. And just like, I got 12 rooms, 12 vacancies. And just, every line that he spits out of his mouth is absolute brilliance. And her too. Like, it's not to take anything away from Janet Leigh's performance in this movie. She, like, I was just going on about her acting with just her face muscles. Like, she's brilliant. But, I mean, you can't not get overshadowed by Anthony Perkins. Like, no matter who you are. You know what I mean? Like, this is Norman's show. From here, I mean, yeah, most of the movie, the rest of the movie, but it starts here. And it just starts and is built up and explored so well that by the time she gets killed in the shower, you're almost on Norman's side at that point. Like, you're on his side of the story. Like, the story just transfers from Marion, and now Norman Bates is your central character, which I think is brilliant. It's fucking amazing how Hitchcock did that too. Like, just took her as your main focus and made it all about her for the beginning, and then just she's surprisingly killed off, and then all your attention shifts on its axis to Norman Bates. And then that also, I think, really helps, and helped back in the day especially, to keep that twist hidden. Just by having it rotate and have you caring about one character, she's dead. Now all you're left with is Norman Bates. That's the only like grip you still have to the reality inside this movie. Like, the only link that you have to this story that's alive and well and that we're seeing is Norman. So I think that's amazing. Like, amazingly well done to make us shift our focus like that onto the antagonist without anyone knowing that he's the antagonist because of all the setup with the mother previously with him talking to Marion for that long extended conversation. Oh, so masterfully done, man. Fucking Marie Samuels, really? That's the name? That's her alias? Like, come on. Did she want to escape? Or did she want to get caught? Because it seems like with that fucking alias that she just wanted to get caught. Who, Marie Samuels? Your boyfriend is Sam? Come on, man. Like, that's one thing. I mean, sure. I mean, it's the late 1950s when this was being shot. So whatever. But still. Like she's been smart so far. Marie Samuels. Come on, why not like Barbara Gayheart? Like there you go. Off the top of my head, there's a name, and no one is ever gonna read Barbara Gayheart and then be like, "Yo, that was JT." Who's like never. So bad call on the alias is what I'm trying to say. Marie Samuels, come on. And there's something about the way that she folds the money up in the newspaper that I've always loved. Like how she just puts the stacks, then she folds it over, and then she puts her hand in the middle and folds it over, puts her hand in the middle and folds it again. The way that she does that, I don't know what it is, but completely ingrained in my mind since I was a kid when I first saw this movie. Like that was like that's so cool. And the only time I'll ever talk about this movie, the remake to this with Vince Vaughn, which I like Vince Vaughn, and hey, whatever, good riddance. I mean, that's sad. She did die, but she never did anything for me really. So who gives a shit? But in that remake, I was happy the one and only time I saw the remake just to see. I mean, it's all shot for shot, but just to see her bend the newspaper the exact same way. That's it. Zzz, no more about the fucking remake because that is an atrocity of film. Like it really is. And then just when Marion's waiting for Norman and to make sandwiches and stuff, and he hears the arguing between him and Mother. Awesome. Like I'm gonna watch this and like talk about this like it's the first time ever seeing this movie. Kind of like what I did for my Creep videos, Creep and Creep 2. That's what I'm going to do. And just see how many hints you can pick up on without knowing. I mean, of course, it's impossible because I fucking love this movie and I've seen it my whole life. Of course, you can't really do that. But let's try. That's all I'm saying, is try a chance. And peace. We all go a little mad sometimes. If I heard a motherfucker say that line just like that, I'd leave. I'm like, yo, this guy's not right. This guy's a fucking murderer. Like, as soon as I heard someone say that in that ominous way, like from how like regular the conversation was to just we all go a little mad sometimes. No, I'm good. I'm out. So stupid, Marion. And I love his line of eating in an office is just it's so officious. I love that. For some reason, always have. Great line. And I love all the taxidermy, like all his birds around the parlor in the back. All of that. And just his love for taxidermy and stuff. Is that, I've always looked at, is that some type of subconscious pull, kind of, from deep within Norman? That kind of like shows that he likes things being filled again, like things living on, if that makes sense. Like kind of like how he wants his mom to live on, that he preserves his mother's body, pretty much like through taxidermy. I wonder, like I love the link between that, the taxidermy and the rest of the story here, just how that's implemented throughout it. And the thematic, value that it has to this whole movie and the story. That's what I think every time I see the birds and hear about the taxidermy. It's like, yeah, like he wants to keep things alive. Like he doesn't want things to permanently die. He wants to be able to force life back into a dead thing. And that's like the core of his whole issue, is that his mom is inside of him. It's his mom and him, more so his mom most of the time. And he just wants to do something to push his mom back into existence. So I feel that's how I've always taken the symbolism of the taxidermy and his birds and all the bird imagery and stuff like that. Let me know if you guys agree or if you've ever heard different theories. If you guys have different theories, let me know, because that's always been a nice little side topic of this movie. Besides being like a little cute precursor to the birds coming out a few years later. God, man, I can't praise his lines enough. Like the delivery, everything. When he's talking about his mom and her lover and how he passed away. But we find out later that Norman killed both of them, poisoned his mom and her lover. And their whole talk with that subject, and then when she starts pressing him a little bit on his mother and how she's sick, that he says, and that she starts suggesting to put him in a home, and just how the score comes in, and you can tell him just getting agitated and just changing a little more from the Norman that we've met so far. And just I love his lines of like after she said like I meant well, and him saying like yeah you meant well. He's like they others they always mean well. They click their thick tongues and shake their heads so also delicately suggests like that whole line. I love it. Like the way he delivers that, you could tell like this guy's about to snap. Like I could. Like maybe 1960s people could not tell. 1960, this guy is a psychopath. Like as soon as I hear him start to like go off at the end of the conversation here with his mom, yeah, this guy ain't right. Time to leave. But back then, I mean, like that's what I mean with the twist. What I was saying earlier, with the twist of this movie, it's so hard to get anyone to see, that hasn't seen this movie to see it in the way that it's meant to be seen. I'd argue even half of us around my age, a little older, a little younger, older, whatever, probably half of us had this movie ruined for us before we first saw it. Like I'd be willing to make that argument. That maybe half of all of us, anyone who watches this video, got Psycho's twist and ending spoiled for them before they saw the movie. Luckily for me, I did not. Like I had no idea, and it was great. Like that's the way to see this movie for the first time, and that it sucks that it's so hard. Like to do that. Like you guys, if you don't know what I mean by now, I don't care. And just the whole. Let's talk about the house for a minute. In the setting of Bates Motel. Are you serious? One of the most iconic sets in a movie. Like, who would argue that? Like, if you want to, comment and argue it. No. The answer is yes. These are some of the best sets in a film. And most iconic for sure. The Bates Motel with the Bates house behind it? Are you serious? You show that to anyone. Again, like playing the Halloween music for 3 seconds. That's it. Halloween. Anyone. Same with this. Show them that without the Bates sign, obviously, but just the motel with the house. Psycho. Like, it's unreal to me. As an artist, as a musician, to like think of that. To think that this guy just made his film. Like, say this is Hitchcock's only movie ever. To make this film and to just have it become what it is today is unreal to me. Like, it really is. It's like writing a song or some shit that's then like deemed one of the greatest songs of all time. Like, it's like, dude, really? Like, that's crazy. So it just blows my mind on just a personal level and a creative level. Just when I see certain movies like this, like The Thing and Halloween and handful of Argento and Bava films, and just it goes on. The Exorcist, The Exorcist 3, Psycho, like all these movies. Just when I see a piece of art that is just perfect, that's just like blows my mind, man. It's like, wow. Like, can you imagine? Very hard to imagine. And now we have that was something you never saw either in 1960. I mean, after she goes to bed and she jumps in the shower, Norman starts spying on her through the peephole and fucking touching himself. And she, like, that's shit you did not see in a movie, like, ever. You got it here. And then just the shower scene. Like, what more can you say about it? Like, I know there's been some argument that some of the shots, it's whatever, that was, I think it was what, like 70 something shots, 77 shots, or like, quick camera shots that were all edited together for the shower scene, something like that. But it's so effective. Like, it's some of the best camera work and editing I've seen in a movie. Like, seriously. Like, he was not able, Hitchcock, to show like the knife going into her body and stabbing her and all of that. But with just the editing and the sound design of the quick of the knife hitting her and stuff, and how perfectly it's all arranged and edited with those camera tricks and those camera shots, you still feel like you just watched this woman get stabbed over and over again. That's not easy to do, like, at all. To do that? Are you serious? You know how many people have tried to like mimic stuff like that? It's nowhere near as good as this scene. Like, absolutely stunning camera work, stunning editing, everything. It's kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre was another, like Tobe Hooper with that movie, was another early on example of that being done so well. Of making you watch a scene or watch a movie, like in Texas Chainsaw Massacre's case. And then a lot of people look back on it, especially Texas Chainsaw, and say like, oh, that's such a bloody, crazy movie. Like, there's hardly any blood in Texas Chainsaw. Like, it's not a gory movie or anything. But a lot of people remember it that way after they see it. If they're not like hardcore fans of the movie and they've seen it a whole bunch of times, like just a casual watcher, a lot of them remember it as being very gory. It's not. But like when you watch this shower scene and just how brilliant that everything is edited, every little shot, and just all the amazing camera work too. I mean, like just the POV shot of her looking up at the shower head. Yeah, right? Yeah, the shower head, fucking shooting the water down at her. That, and just the shots of her eyes, like panning out from her eyeball and stuff like that. And she had a hard time keeping her eye closed because she had water splashing it. Like, I don't know if I'd be able to do that. Just stay with one eye open like that, but like it look dead for like that long, 20-something seconds. Seems like around there. But what a great shot, like of her eye and everything. So good. And let's even talk about the look of Mother, quote unquote. Iconic. Like, what more can you say about that? Like, just the mother robe and the wig, and then just the shadow face. You see nothing of the face in that scene, and just the and the ding 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 ding. Oh. Doesn't sound anything like that, but you get the idea. Like, such an iconic scene, and then when it's all over, then Norman just running down, Mother, oh my God, there's blood, and then runs down and cleans up everything, turns into Norman again, into sun mode to protect his mother, and it just starts cleaning the room up, and all of that. This is when it starts going on Norman's story. Now we're fully invested in Norman Bates. Like, Marion Crane is gone. She will be remembered. But she's fucking gone. And so is that 40,000 dickhead at the end who says, well, what about the money? Like, that's all that matters to him, even though this woman, his employee, was fucking murdered? Seriously? Or was that the guy from the bank? Who knows? One of them is pissed at the end the money ain't there. It's like, bitch, you just discovered this crazy lunatic. Like, are you serious right now? I don't know. That always, like, got me, like, fuming at the end of this movie. Like, dude, are you serious? Like, this guy... This girl got murdered, and so did the private investigator. And like, and you're worried about $40,000? Like, you're a bank. Like, I get it. That's a hit. Like, especially back then. You're still a bank. You're gonna make it back, no problem. So, whatever. This has nothing to do with anything right now. But yeah, Hitchcock directed all of this. Like, Janet Leigh has said multiple times. The assistant director has said multiple times that Hitchcock was there every day of the 7 days that she was in the shower. Like, that whatever guy, I forget his name, said that he did some of the camera work and stuff. And like, no, with the way Hitchcock is, with how like perfectionist he is and stuff like that, there's no chance that he was letting anyone else near that camera, like in directing any part of that scene at all. So it's been put to rest so many times. Hitchcock directed that entire scene, like every shot, so that can come to an end with the that can come to an end with that whole debate there, because just knowing how, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not a big Hitchcock guy, but you can tell just like hearing a little bit about him or interviews and stuff like that. Guy's got a fucking ego on him. Like he's one perfectionist guy, like kind of like me. Like I'm very perfectionist with a certain amount of things, decent amount of things, not everything. Like for sure, editing that's one of them. I'm a zero perfectionist when it comes to that, but whatever the hell is talking about. This movie is brilliant. Like that's like really there all is to say, like over and over again. And then him putting the car in the swamp, and he improvised the whole him eating the candy corns like sporadically. That was Anthony Perkins improvising that. Hitchcock let them improvise a little bit. That's cool. Like cool little touch. It just like adds to Norman's character a little. Like it makes him feel boyish. It makes him feel like a man child. Like it makes sense in the narrative. And making sense in the narrative, that's a whole nother thing to talk about in another video. Yeah, I will be doing all the Psycho movies. Like Psycho 2, Psycho 3, Psycho 4. No, I'm not doing the remake, and I said I'm not talking about it again, so screw you for making me bring it up. Whatever. Not doing that one, but 2, 3, and 4 for sure. I'm not going to do all the Bates Motel. Are you insane? But, I mean, maybe down the line when I have time to do, like, actual TV series. I haven't watched a TV series in forever. Like, unless it's just, like, a show I love, like, random episodes at night to fall asleep. Something like that. But I haven't watched, like, a full-on, like, new series. I haven't had the time. Like, I just don't. So, who knows one day. But speaking of in the universe and stuff, like I was saying, Psycho 2. Psycho 2 is one of the greatest sequels ever, in my opinion. And of a sequel to an absolute classic, like titan of horror film, might be the best. Might be the best sequel. If not, definitely in the top 5. Probably in the top 3. I'd have to figure that out. That's something I'll figure out as I go along. Maybe I'll do a video on that one day. But Psycho 2 is absolutely brilliant. And it deserves its title as Psycho 2. Like, it deserves to exist. Like, it feels like the continuation organically of Norman Bates' life and his character. It makes sense. Like, it works. Like, it feels like it's supposed to exist. That whole storyline, the whole plot of Psycho 2. What a great sequel. Like, I don't know when I'll be doing Psycho 2, 3, and 4. I mean, in the next month, for sure. Probably in the next few weeks. But I just want to finish Saw and Final Destination and then do some Fulci and stuff. So I'll probably switch between Fulci and the Psycho series or something like that. Who knows? I don't plan shit anymore. Like, it's too much. It's too hard. Like, I just, like, whatever. From now on, just whatever I feel like I'm watching tonight, that's what we're fucking doing. And then just go with it. Because I can't plan shit, man. Like, I've always been terrible at planning. Always. Like, if I was Norman, and, like, I just killed some bitch and didn't know about it because I was my mom, arrested. Like, immediately. Because I wouldn't be able to plan anything. Like, especially in that mind state, no way. And just the whole scene of when he's sinking, when he pushes the car in the swamp, and the swamp, swallows up the car for the most part, and then it just lingers, and it just stays on it for just an uncomfortable amount of seconds until it starts, and you look, and then it shoots on Norman's face, and he's watching and stuff, and then it starts going down, and he starts smiling again, like, awesome. Like, great. Like, so good. A lot of suspense. Like, is it going to go down or is it not? Like, I mean, Hitchcock had, pretty sure it was Hitchcock, right? Who said that if you have a scene in a movie, if you have a bomb under the table and and people know about it and it goes off, that's a surprise. But if you have a bomb under a table with two people who don't know it's there, that's suspense. Something like that, right? This is a quote of Hitchcock. But I've always loved that idea and that quote because it's true. Like, 100%. Like, if you have, that's why with movies that, like, with big name actresses or actors, You know they're not dying, so you know there's no stakes there because of them. Like, or in prequels that like you know how this whatever character or characters stories continue after that in the original movies, so there's no stakes there. Like that's one thing I love about a decent amount of directors, that they actually put stakes in their movies. Like that's one right here. Like no one was expecting Marion Crane to get murdered here in this movie 20 something minutes in. Like nobody. Maybe it's a little less than 20 minutes, right? Like 30 minutes, something like that. But no one expected that. Like nobody. And then just the ending. It just is insane. Nobody saw that coming at all in 1960. And yeah, now we got Arbogast, who's a great character too, man. Like when Arbogast goes to check out the motel, his whole interrogation scenes with Bates, and like they're back and forth. I love the acting there. Like love the acting there. Love the dynamic between Perkins and I forget his name. Whatever, Arbogast, Frank, what you would call it, Shameless, in the remake of this movie. Third time now. But yeah, Frank Gallagher was the private detective. He was he got one of his weekend jobs for the remake, and before he was even a character. So that's cool. But Arbogast is a great character, and his interrogation of Norman's great. He brings up certain points that are great that Norman did forget, or he tries to add on. Like he interrogates him very well. Like, and that's a tense scene too. It's suspenseful. It makes you think, like, is he going to trip him up? And if he trips up Norman, how's he going to correct what he said? Like, great stuff. And then when he calls Lila and Sam and talks to them, says that he's going to go back, and he notices right away Marie Samuels. Like, yeah, this is her. Like, see, like even a fucking stupid private investigator. I mean, I just said he was smartly like interrogating. It's not stupid, but still, like just a regular private investigator was able to figure that out in 2 seconds. That was Marion's name. That was her alias. Like really, like again with that alias. Like come on. I mean, I get it, it's cutesy, but it's not effective like at all. But one of my favorite shots in this movie is when he's coming up the stairs of the house, and then Mother comes out, and it's the above shot of the hallway, and Mother comes out and just stabs him, and then he gets the cut across his face, and the stumble thing down the stairs effect. Like that whole sequence, absolutely brilliant. That looks so cool. I love the whole above shot and how quick Norman, Mother comes out from around the corner, from out the door. All of that, excellent. So good. Does it look a little hokey today with the vertigo effect and stuff like that? I could see it. Like, I could see people saying that, but not for me. Like, I love that shot, love that whole sequence, love that camera work. I might just have that face that makes you just want to believe me. I'm not a fool, and I'm not capable of being fooled. Like, she may have fooled me, but she didn't fool my mother. Awesome. Like, all of those lines, man, like, every line in this movie, like, everything about this movie is a masterpiece. Everything. The directing, the editing, the cinematography, the camera work, the specific shots and camera angles, the sound design, the fucking acting is phenomenal. The suspense, the just everything. Like, everything about this movie is perfection. Remember I said earlier, if you haven't seen an old video of, like, masterpiece movies by me, perfection. That's the fucking word right there. It's about this long, so get ready to suck up perfection. Suck up perfection for the rest of this movie, because it's just going to be oozing out all over from this place. Gold My Television, playing Psycho, 1960. Welcome back. Oh, they just showed Arbogast at the phone. Which reminded me, and this is going to be a surprise, just for those of you who watched this video and are concerned or wonder what my thoughts were on Black Phone from last year, because I didn't even watch it last year. I just watched it a few days ago, like 2 days ago or something like that, when I was upstate, a few more days ago. Bad. Like, really? Like, people really loved that movie? Seriously? I mean, I could see people really liking it, but I don't know, man. It didn't work for me at all. Like, it feels so Stranger Things. And that's another thing. Like, we got to stop with that in movies. Like, making movies just that appeal to that whole Stranger Things, kids bonding in like the 80s or the summertime and stuff, like all of that's just got to be done with. Like, we've been going way too hard on that in movies and TV shows ever since Stranger Things and stuff. I mean, we've been getting that forever with Steven Spielberg and Stephen King stories and stuff. But still, the whole thing in the Black Phone with the whole movie didn't care for it. Like, Ethan Hawke, never, not big on him either. He's all right. He talked in a weird voice. Cool. I mean, this whole story did not work. So there is my review on the Black Phone from 2022, inside the hour mark of Psycho, timeless classic. So only people who have seen this video will know my true thoughts on the Black Phone. I just thought it was fucking garbage. Like, it was all right, but just stupid. Like, not a good movie for me. Did not enjoy it at all. So there you go. Black Phone out of the way. Continue with Psycho, Psycho. And just the way that it loved, very much like Mario Bava too, like in Black Sunday and in a few of his other black and white movies. Like, he's excellent, Hitchcock and Bava, at just how the black and white looks. Like, the black looks so black, and the white just like, just the contrast is perfect in their films, and this one is one of them. Like, the black and white looks amazing in this movie, and I'm so glad they decided he did it in black and white, because this movie in color just does not work for me. Does not work. Like, it just, I don't know, it changes the atmosphere too much. Like, kind of like with Night of the Living Dead, with the colorized version, it definitely gives it a different feel too. But that's another one I prefer in black and white. But I don't feel like it's as bad watching that in color than, the Psycho remake. Fucking, are you serious? So 4 times. This is all your fault. But I love that shot. Like, with the stab in the face and the vertigo. Awesomeness, awesome. That girl, that woman up in the house is Mrs. Bates, who's buried out in Green Lawn Cemetery. What a great line that is too, man. Like, awesome. And like the way that how Hitchcock handled giving the little clues about Norman's mom. Again, it's a product of its time, because back in 1960, you didn't see a twist like this in a movie. Or a story, really. Like, some stories, books, yeah. I mean, this was based off one. But in, like, a mainstream movie that mad people were going to see by an esteemed director, like, you never saw anything like this. So, like, the whole thought that, oh, maybe this guy's insane and he's keeping his dead mother around because he's part mom in his head and he has multiple personalities. Like, was that on anyone's mind? No. Like, not one bit was that on anyone's mind and their radar when they were watching this movie in 1960. I almost guarantee it. Sure, there could have been a few who either, the very few who read the novel from the year before and they knew the twist going into the movie or something like that. Of course, there's going to be some that figure it out. But compared to today, like, now it's like a rule nowadays. Like, for decades now, if you hear about a character in a movie, but you don't see them, there's something fucked up with that character. There's something suspect of that character. If we can't see them, we just hear a voice or like a shadow, or like, you're immediately looking at that as, all right, what's happening there for real? That's how it is today. And that's how you would be with this. Like, if Psycho came out today, first of all, if it came out today, at the end when they give the whole like exposition on Norman and what's wrong with him and stuff like that, they'd probably just be like, well, Yeah, but he's transgender and stuff in his head with multiple personality. He's not. It's fine. It's great. Like let him. He'll be fine. Like let's not give him any punishment. He did nothing wrong. Like with the woke fucking culture we have today. Oh God, can you imagine this movie coming out today and how they would handle the whole explanation of Norman? I wouldn't even want to hear it. Like, that's one thing. Don't fuck with my psycho. Like that, I'm serious. This movie, John Carpenter's The Thing, and for now, those two. Don't mess with them. The Exorcist is the other one, which now they're doing the whole reboot of. Those are three movies. Do not ever make a fucking remake of. They don't need it. There's no reason for it. They are perfect just how they are. They can never be made better. There's no reason to try to make them better. Don't fuck with Psycho. And they already did it once. But that was like, what, 1996, 97? I want to say the late 90s. That was fucking a while ago. That was 2 decades ago. And then we had Bates Motel, which was great for the most part. Please don't ever let me hear Blumhouse is coming out with Psycho rebooted or some shit in today's age. Like, oh God, I'd rather become Norman Bates' mother and be stuck on trial forever than watch that movie. So, Jason Blum, if you ever watch this video, you better. You and David Gordon Green, whatever the hell his name is, with the Halloween trilogy, don't you ever touch my Psycho. Ever. Or you will find out what a psycho. I shouldn't even joke about that. The whole scene, too, with Norman saying, he came for the girl, and now someone will come after him, after Arbogast. And again, the down, the from above, down shooting camera angle of him carrying Mother down the stairs while hearing her voice. And I forget who did the voice of Mother, but phenomenal. Like, are you serious? It's so iconic. The voice of Norman playing his mother in this movie. Like, so iconic. I was just going to try it, like to imitate it like I do with some things. No, not even going to try. But, oh, it's so good. And then just that overhead shot of him carrying her down. And it really does sell it. So that's what I've been trying to say is like in pieces, sporadically, before I go on tangents, like always. In 1960, watching this movie, you see a woman get killed by someone in a dress with an old lady hair. You don't see her face. You've already heard that he has a sick mother. Already heard that from him multiple times. You've heard her voice. You've seen her shadow up in the house. There's no reason for anyone back in 1960 when this came out to think otherwise. To think that he's got a sick mother. Like, is she a killer? Maybe, like, is she the one who's killing people and Norman's just an innocent son? Like, that's as far as most people's brains have probably got. Then just to be hit with it at the end. It's like, oh, shit. Like, I didn't know she's dead the whole time. It's all him. Like, I know for younger people, and even for, like, our generation, like my age people, I know it doesn't make sense. Because, like, it's such an obvious twist nowadays. But for then, it was not. Like, for then, this was mind-blowing shit. Finding out that Norman Bates is split personality. That is, he talks in his mom's voice. He dresses like his mother because he killed her and her lover 10 years ago. And like Ed Gein, the serial killer, who this movie and the book was loosely based on, which he was a grave robber, and he killed, I think, 2 people, and he kept his mom's corpse, and he was the inspiration for Silence of the Lambs, Hannibal Lecter, for Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw, for Bates from Psycho. So Gein was a big influence on the horror genre, just with 3 like iconic characters in horror that we've gotten because of the terrible shit that he did. Well, so, I mean, no one ever talks about the good things that Ed Gein has done for society. How about next time you watch one of those three movies? You, thanks Ed Gein. Like, love you, pal. Like, thanks for what you did. Why don't you try that next time? And then Lila just knowing that something's wrong, knowing that Arbogast would have came back, and that they never heard from him. And that's when they go to the sheriff and stuff like that, and he says about the town and says the history of what happened to Norman's mom, and that she died with the lover, that he poisoned them. And then they go themselves, Sam and Lila, go to Bates Motel. And I love the way that he distracts Norman. The way that he distracts Norman and lets Lila get into the house. Like, I love it, kind of like the interrogation scene with Arbogast. Like, it's very, very well done. Like, great dialogue, great acting, same as the rest of the movie. And then when he finds out and says, like, wait, where's that girl you were here with? And runs into the house after her. And when she's exploring the house, Lila, like, so suspenseful, so tense, because you don't know the first time you're watching this. You don't know what the hell's going to happen. You don't know if this mom is going to jump out from somewhere and just kill this girl. Like, Marion already got killed. Like, in the star of the movie, 30-something minutes in. You don't know what to expect. Like, there's actual stakes in this movie the first time you watch it. Like I said, like, that's what I love about certain movies. Like, I love when there's actual stakes, when people can die. When just because they're a big name doesn't mean no, they're off limits. We can't kill them. Like, look in The Walking Dead with Daryl. You think Daryl Norman Reedus? You think he was ever getting killed off that show? No fucking way. He sold that whole series for AMC. There wasn't a chance they were ever getting rid of him. You are going to probably see him, Norman Reedus, and spin-offs and whatever in that Walking Dead universe for the next 30 years. Like, they'll never drop Norman Reedus. Then there's no stakes in it. That's what I don't like about it. It's like, all right, well, we know he ain't dying because he's Norman Reedus. He's Daryl. He's been here since the beginning. Like, I don't like that. I like being able to actually be shocked and be like, oh, shit. Like, they fucking killed this person. That's great entertainment there for me. And the first time you see this movie, and every time afterwards, I mean, like, there's those stakes there. Like, just the fact of Marion getting killed. But then there are those feelings of suspense for Lila of, what, oh shit, what can happen to her? Like, walking into this spooky-ass house. God, the house is so gorgeous in this movie. Like, in the whole series. Like, what an amazing piece of set work. What an amazing set. Just the hotel with the house behind it. Oh, it's so fucking beautiful, man. Like, it's absolute beauty representing the horror section of film history. Yeah, think of a better thought than that. And just the whole end, man, with the whole reveal when Lila gets in the fruit cellar and just see Mrs. Bates, and you see the from behind, like, looks like a little granny sitting there, and it turns around and it's the fucking skeleton, and Lila screams and hits the light above her, and then just the way that Norman comes running in, just with that facial expression, like that, like he's so excited with the fucking wig, and then just the shot of Sam holding the knife up here, holding his wrist, and then just the way that he had to actually, like, pull the wig off of him, just so, like, the audience would get exactly what was going on, that it's Anthony Perkins in a wig, that he's the killer. Otherwise, they weren't sure, like the first take or something like that, if I recall. Then they weren't sure that people were going to be able to tell, like, what was going on, so they had to redo it. But all of that, awesome. And then, like, how they pull the dress open to make it show, too, that it's Norman. Like, what an amazing reveal. Like, one of the best twists in a movie ever. Which, like I've said a few times, has been ruined just by how popular it is. Which is crazy to think about. Now, just the whole ending with the psychiatrist. His whole monologue is brilliant. Love it. Always have. I think it's such a great ending for this movie. Now, a lot of people will, especially like newer audiences, younger people haven't seen this movie, who look at movies in a certain way, like the way that I do and others with channels and stuff, and they analyze movies. This is a shit ton of exposition. This whole end with the psychiatrist. So much exposition, it isn't even funny how much it is. Like, we could have pieced all this together. And of course, this whole long scene is here because of its time. Again, the product of its time. So many things in this movie is because of when it came out. Just to make sure and really hammer home to the audience and viewers of this movie in 1960 of what actually happened. They needed this whole huge exposition scene with the psychiatrist explaining everything. If this was made in the 80s, 90s, I feel like this wouldn't be here, or at least as heavy handed as it is. But again, because of just the context, because it's in this movie, and because it came before so many things, and because it's such a great story and such a great character study into Norman Bates that you want to hear all of that. Like, you want to hear the exposition. You want to hear the explanation, even though you can mostly piece it all together. But I love it. Like, even though I don't like exposition a lot of the time, which is why I brought it up, they do it so well here. And it's one of the few times in a film that there's just so much exposition being explained. There's so much stuff being explained right now that doesn't really have to. But it's still a brilliant scene because of the acting and the choice of words and the dialogue and all of that. That's one of the only scenes. Like, it really doesn't have to be explained like this, but you want to hear it explained. And then just the whole last shot, he's cold, and he wants a blanket. Can I bring him a blanket? Sure. Brings him the blanket. And it just says, like, the words, when your mother has to condemn her own son, and like, all of that. They're probably watching me and stuff. Let them see what kind of person I am. He's like, no, I'm not even going to swat that fly. Like, all of that. They'll see and they'll say, like, she wouldn't even harm a fly. Which now all I think of, see what I talked about earlier about parodies and stuff, is South Park. With the episode with Lou Kim, with the Chinese guy, the she chicken place. When he turns out having multiple personalities and stuff, and they bring him in and stuff, they mimic the whole Psycho ending. And then he says, well, she wouldn't even harm a fly. Now, every time I see this movie, and he says harm a fly, I'm thinking fry. Because that's how the Chinese people talk in South Park. Too funny. But, God, man, when this movie was in theaters and that twist hit, that would be one thing I would love to see. Absolutely. But what a timeless masterpiece this movie is. This movie, like I said, has started so many things in the horror genre and in film in general. And just iconic in every single way. A perfect movie. And fucking Blumhouse, don't fuck with my Psycho. That's it. That's all I gotta say. So, alright, guys. I got a christening I gotta go to. Yeah, I should probably message Mike and tell him, just in case. I don't want to miss that stream tonight. But yeah, I'm thinking, like I said at the beginning of this, going to probably start doing that mystery movie stream every week or two. See how that goes. So that's an idea. So wherever you guys are from, hope you're having a great afternoon, or morning, or night, whatever it is for you. And I will talk to y'all soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.